Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round two of Endurance for Amateurs 2023 Season 3 here at Sebring International Raceway in Sebring, Florida, brought to you by Ninja Botanicals and AlienAwards.net. We've got a 90-minute race ahead of us with both LMP3 and GT3 cars and an A and B subclass for each as well. We had an exciting topsy-turvy race in round one at Daytona where B-class driver Zach Nurnberger came away with the overall win in LMP3 ahead of Don McCloy, and GT3 was won by longtime stalwart Terry Calgar Jr. I'm joined in the booth tonight by a familiar name you've seen on the track quite a lot, Paul Skip. Paul, you won this race last season at LMP2. What's the biggest thing that these drivers need to avoid doing here at this distinctive track?
Well, at Sebring, it's all about how you manage the bumps and how well you keep your car in contact with the road. So I think our winner, especially in the P3 class tonight, is going to do just that.
We saw in Daytona a little bit of intermingling and pace between the two classes. However, if we're to take anything from practice here, it shouldn't be as much of an issue for today. They still, I believe, should be gridding as a full group, not grouped in classes, but the pace difference, even from the back of the LMP3 field to the front of the GT3s, was at least a few seconds. So they're on different setups than they were at Daytona, so it's another thing to keep an eye out for as well, and slightly different fuel counts.
Yeah, we did move down to the fixed setup for the more road course oriented tracks of the season, and we also lightened the fuel load to about, 65%, I believe, so that the P3 is going to have a better pace right out of the box early on. There should be a gap. Hopefully we don't see a lot of intermingling until at least the first pit stop, and then things will get interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to touch on too, was that the thing that's going to be interesting is that they have less fuel, so it'll help them be a little bit faster here at the start of the race. But if they're actually able to pull out a pit stop amount of gap to the GT3s behind, I'm not really sure if that's going to be possible. So they're going to pit and come out at least inside of the GT3 field before those GT3s come into pit. So we'll see if that affects any driver strategies, especially the GT3s. Maybe they pit early because they can to avoid dealing with any LMP3 traffic in that sense.
It's possible. Me personally, when it comes to pit strategy, I just kind of do it as I need to. I don't really think about, I don't have a strategy going into any race in particular. It's always been what works.
Drivers will have a lot of sectors to contend with here. You can see down there as it tracks sector times, a lot of sectors on this track. It'll be tough to really get purple in all of them. But right now, the driver who looked the strongest in the GT3 class is this driver right here, Ken Huber, who had no one was even close to touching him, honestly. He was as far ahead from second place as second was from 10th or so in the GT3 field. So he's looking pretty strong here for this qualifying session, especially since he narrowly missed out on qualifying for A-class in the race 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's looking real strong, but you got to remember, too, we got a couple of veterans that were right there on his back door in Terry Calgar Jr. and Tyler Langenberg. Neither driver are anything to nap on.
Yeah, again, Terry won the last race at Daytona in the GT3 field quite handily. Did it without too much pressure, as Nicholas Paletti there puts in the first time on the board of a 155.9. Waiting to see if anybody's able to get to the 154s. No one was able to do it in practice, and the GT3s were just the best times right there. Terry Calgar Jr., I was about to say, just inside the 59s there.
Yep, you can never really go off of what Terry does in practice. He's always holding something back for the big show.
Yeah, I'm not. He didn't even put in the time until the very end. He certainly likes to hide his secrets until it's too late for anyone to learn from him. But we'll see if he's able to repeat that victory from a couple weeks ago. Obviously, the champion of the LMP2 class last season, a former champion of the GT3s in the past as well. So looking to get 3 championships in 3 different cars here. Right now in the LMP3s, Nicholas Paletti is top with Roycroft and McCombs behind. Brad McCombs had the fastest time in practice. It was a very narrow gap over Nicholas Paletti there, but certainly look to see Brad improve on that time, although I think really everybody should be improving on these first times as they get those tires in the window. Tyler Langenberg there has a good time going, mostly green sectors, and has a purple sector in there as well. That's going to put him up in 6th place there.
Yeah, 2-minute lap around here is a fast one, especially with a full load of fuel and tires that aren't fully warmed up.
Another large track like we had at Sebring, or at Daytona, Sebring is. So should give the drivers some more time before they really have to deal with too much of the lapping events. But like we said, that pit strategy may end up creating that. Nicholas Paletti is on a stormer of a lap right now. He just finished it and improves his time. Now 0.8 ahead of Keith Roycroft there for that provisional pole position from his second lap. Ken Huber there narrowly pipping Terry Cowger Jr., challenging him there for that pole at a 1:59.906. So those two drivers, the only two that are in the 59s, although Jeff McDonald very close to doing that with a 2:012 right there in 3rd place.
And Brad McCombs just came back in LMP3 and answered Nick's 155 with a 155.7.
Tony Watson, another good time there on the board, 2:02 flat, 0.3, had a purple sector in there. We're not really seeing anybody able to command the entire track and get purple sectors up and down, but there's just so many. I would not be surprised to see a lot of these guys take this 3rd lap kind of easy and really prepare for that final lap. I do wonder if that's maybe what Tyler Langenberg is doing there, as he has mostly yellow sectors in this 3rd lap here. Right now we have the A and B class, and that will continue through this race at least. 12 drivers need to show up in either respective class in all of the first 3 races. Obviously, you can tell there we have more than 12 in both classes, so a very full race, and it should be a good one. A lot of competition up and down the field here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real exciting race. We got a lot of talented drivers in the league. You know, the usual suspects as far as fast guys go are right where they should be. I think it's going to be a great race.
Yeah, we do still have a lot of Porsches certainly represented in that GT3 class. We had a lot of them a couple weeks ago. It is the new car. It does also seem to be one of the strongest. However, that pole position that Ken Huber has provisionally right now is in the Ferrari, which had some pretty strong performances last season. It was a pretty consistent car. Paul Boyle there takes the battle even closer to Nicholas Paletti, just 0.2 back, but still in 2nd place. And Terry Cowger Jr. improves, and Jeff McDonald improves. Terry Cowger Jr. had the provisional pole for 1 split second before Jeff McDonald puts himself on top at a 1:59.7.
That's amazing racing. These guys are already battling, and they're not even on track with each other yet.
I mean, I remember this race last season, and I mean, we saw the issues with the draft being weak at Daytona. And I remember the race here last season, and it was a struggle to make a pass. So despite what may seem like a lot of passing opportunities, that track position here in this qualifying session could be very crucial to race success, especially up there at the front where they don't often make too many mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. Sebring is just a hard track to pass at in general. I mean, you've always got these nice long straight sections followed by, you know, a series of corners that you got to deal with. So if you can't get the pass done, you know, going into that section, you're stuck. There's nowhere you can go.
Yeah, a lot of setting up that you have to do on the driver in front, a lot of planning. It's definitely a mental track, and one that they'll have to prepare any sort of passes for. And if you really, I don't see anybody so far that has disqualified too many of their laps. The off tracks aren't a huge deal. So I was wondering, because we had a couple guys last race who just were not able to get in a representative qualifying effort, and it really hurt their race chances, at least for getting up to the top step.
Yeah, no, it looks like everybody's kind of running through qualifying or completed qualifying with relatively few incidents, and yeah, I think it's going to be a great race.
Yep. All right, so we will be back in just a few minutes as we verify these results and get the class split set up. So be right back. And we are back, and we have a couple promoted drivers as well. So looking at our overall qualifying results here, pole position from Nicholas Paletti. Again, 2 pole positions in the first 2 races of this LMP3 class here. And right behind him, Paul Boyle, 2/10, and Brad McCombs rounds out that top 3. Those top 3 really separated themselves from the field. Keith Roycroft and Zach Nuremberger 4th and 5th. Those are 2 drivers, or Adrian Fedorowski as well, actually 3 drivers who all were promoted into A class in this qualifying session. Andrew Neri 7th, and Don McCloy rounds out the A class. Christopher Craig gets pole position for the B class there in 9th, followed by Steve Cubet, Ryan Jeevan, Daniel Plotis, and Joseph Penn. No time set for Nick Terrell and Atticus Middleton, and I believe that they should be actually gridding at the back of the entire field, not just the LMP3 group. So they'll have a difficult start to this race as they have to make their way around some traffic. And for our GT3 results.
On the pole, we've got Jeff McDonald, followed close on the outside in position number 2 by Terry Calgar Jr. Then we've got Ken Huber, who was promoted to A class just because of his qualifying efforts, as well as Andy McMurray. In 5th position, we got Tyler Langenberg, 6th, John Kelly, 7th, Tony Watson. And then on pole for the GT3B class, we've got Christopher Newby, followed by Daniel Rial. In 10th overall in class, Kevin Berquist, followed by Aaron Claybaugh, Richard Curry, I can't say his last name. I'm not going to pretend I can. I'm sorry. Tim Thompson in 14th. 15th, the longtime PE racer Roger Shank, followed by William Akala in 16th, Daniel Barnett in 17th, Daniel Hingley in 18th, Leonardo Elijah in 19th, and rounding out the GT3 field is Vernon Margram.
Yeah, it looks like he wasn't able to get in a representative time, but he actually still should be ahead of those 2 LMP3s because he did have a time on the board there. So that will be something a little bit helpful, but it'll be an interesting story to follow very early in the first few laps. Other than just the battling up front is how those LMP3s make their way through. And yeah, I think I saw one back there in that shot. So Nick Terrell's actually starting from the pits, but yeah, here is Atticus Middleton, and he will be starting the field from this very back position, unfortunately. And Joseph Penn also, he's actually in the center of this GT3 field. That's why, that's the GT3 I saw. He's pretty much right in the middle, as I don't think got in a fast lap either.
Yeah, it's these 2 car classes, they're really similarly matched. One can't really outrun the other. It's going to come down to driver talent as to how quick he can get around those few GT3s ahead of him and catch up with the rest of the P3 field.
Nick Terrell there, the only driver in the pits, although I guess that is assuming that he is starting this race. It is possible that he just wasn't able to get ready in time, because I know that he registers from his phone with a virtual machine usually, so that would explain why he'd be there. He may not actually be in the session yet, physically.
Yeah, and then remember, too, we have the rule that says if you start from the pits, you have to wait for the entire field to go by so you don't get an advantage.
Yeah, he's going to have to wait quite a long time. However, of course, that is where he would be starting anyway, luckily. As, these drivers are now rounding Le Mans Curve, heading down the long straight, Ullman Straight. Maybe a passing opportunity. Certainly should be a passing opportunity for the LMP3s getting around the GT3s. Making a pass into Sunset is a pretty risky ask sometimes, though.
Yeah, especially with the bumps on the inside up against the wall. You got to be brave to take that line or muscle your way in.
We'll see how these guys are able to contend with this track, this very bumpy track. They come around Sunset Bend, one of the most difficult corners on this course. Nicholas Play is going to lead him. There will be a no passing through those S's, but after that, everything's fair game. Paletti waiting for that green flag. The truck pulls in. Everyone's going to go on the green. And he's going. They're accelerating. Nicholas Paletti is going to lead the field with teammate Paul Boyle right behind him into turn 1. No passing, but we'll see if there's going to be any incidents early on here. Makes his way through turn 1, absolutely no issue. coming through turn 2. Oh, he actually gets into the grass, and it's going to be a pass by Paul Boyle. That's going to be an interesting situation. Sir, I would imagine that Paul Boyle is allowed to make that pass, given the mistake by Paletti.
Yeah, I would say it was a legal pass. He was off the racing surface. Paul had no idea if he was going to hang on to it or not, so there was no reason to wait.
So already one misstep by Paletti. Ironically, the guy who we usually see finish races with 0 incidents picks up 1 incident there right at the very start of this race, although luckily no damage and nothing lost but that 1 position.
As far as incidents go at Sebring, it was very mild.
Abhi Vishvasham has lost all of the positions from the start, and I have to wonder if there might have been an incident somewhere in there. I don't know. Oh, and a lockup by Paletti behind. It's minor collision with cars behind. He is falling back through the field. He has to stay still.
Yeah, he's stuck in the middle of the turn. There's nothing really he can do.
A nightmare first few corners start to this race for Nicholas Paletti, and he is going to be here at the absolute back of not just the LMP3 field, but the entire field as a whole. Looks like he has some minor damage to that front right as well.
Yeah, that's one thing about the P3s, Zach, is they don't like any kind of damage. They're not near as tough as the P2s were, so if he's got a pit to get some top speed back,
you see how bad that damage was to the front right? I mean, that thing
the front right was totally caved in.
And I'm just trying to find that collision there. I believe that was Neri, I think. It's hard for me to remember. All new liveries. I believe that was Neri there with the unfortunate contact. So he is limping it back, and he is definitely going to be coming to the pits at the end of this lap. I imagine he has a meatball. But Paul Boyle, very strong start to this race, was obviously ahead of that Nicholas Paletti spin as everyone else behind got either slowed down or collided with. I have to wonder if that was not Neri, so that was the wrong call on which driver. There's Don McCloy. I don't think that he has any damage from that incident, though.
No, Don's car seems to be okay, or at least it's a low level of damage that he feels he could deal with until the pit cycle starts.
At the front of our GT3 field, Jeff McDonald still stays first with Terry Kiger Jr., Ken Huber as the top 3, just as they qualified, although Tyler Langenberg has made his way around Andrew McMurray. So that's 1 position gained early in this race. Let's see this pass here. Made it on the inside. It looks like he was going to lose that position, and he actually fought back on the inside of Sunset there. Yeah, oh, and look at that. There's a spun LMP3 back there, too.
He just took the bumpy line through Sunset and made it work.
Oh, and actually, it's not over yet. He still had to fight on the outside of turn 1 here. Cuts back inside, and is he going to make the move down into the braking zone? Oh, what battling for Tyler Langenberg early in this race here, and he's going to pull ahead. So, wow, what an attack, a defense for that position.
Yeah, an excellent pass to be sure, and one of the toughest parts of the track to do it, too. Go too wide in the first section there is just, it's difficult.
Yeah, and lots of props to Andrew McMurray as well, too. Gave plenty of space, but still battled hard, did everything he could to defend that. Had actually, gained that position on him, but through that battle, lost it out in those S's. We did have an incident from Dan Real here. Let's see if this was oh, wow. Okay, so that was John Kelly back there. Dan Real nearly taking out his teammate as he coasts across the track. That's that's John Kelly there. Let's see if we can get another view of that incident.
Yep, looks like he just came across his nose. They just kind of got tangled up, and doesn't look like either one walked away.
No, that was very unfortunate for both drivers. I don't think that Kelly earned too much damage from that wall collision, although it looks pretty bad on the outside.
I was going to say his nose looks a little busted up.
Yeah, a little bit of just spatial awareness problem there from one of those 2 drivers there as they collide in that kink. And it's going to take them both to the back of the field as well. Dan Real currently in 17th and John Kelly in 19th. He did make a pit, so he took that fast repair. I doubt Real really had any damage from that, but lost a lot of time. We also just missed incident from Adrian Fedorowski in the LMP3. The last driver there in the A class. Oh, that is a tough section of track.
Yeah, looks like he just caught a little bit too much curb and it kicked him off the racing surface. That was actually a really good battle prior to that. They were going 3 wide down the front stretch, and these cars trying to gain an advantage on each other.
Right now, closest battle in the LMP3 class is right here. Andrew Neri trying to chase down Keith Roycroft. Neri's up 2 spots. Roycroft exactly where he started, although I guess with the Paletti incident, that is kind of a loss of 1 spot. Zach Nurnberger is the one who made his way around and is up in the 3rd.
Yep, he gained 2 spots through all that. Let's see if he can hang on to it tonight.
He told us that we needed to talk good about him, but I mean, objectively, a great start to this race. May have picked up an incident there right as we pulled the camera to him. But a great start to this race, given that he wasn't even sure he was going to be able to qualify into A class in the race today, and is now all the way up to 3rd place just 6 minutes in. We did have the fastest lap there set by Don McCloy, so clearly he's catching up to Andrew Neri at the same time as Neri's catching up to Roycroft.
You always got to keep an eye on Don McCloy. He's one of those quiet racers. He's not there until you least expect it.
Don McCloy was a close 2nd place in the race at Daytona. And just if it had been just a little bit longer, he brought it down to just a couple seconds and was catching up to Nurnberger. And yeah, was one of the fastest guys on track. Tony Watson has towed to the pits. Let's see. Oh, and check this, but right after Terry Kiger Jr. just made the move on Jeff McDonald for 1st. It's an interesting incident there.
Looks like a little bit of contact. Tony's car might have pushed out on turn 1 there, might have lost traction and got collected.
You can see, I think he starts to lose control a little bit, and he turns into the loss of control, and that puts him right, the car's right next to the outside. But Terry Kiger Jr. has made the pass on Jeff McDonald, so let's take a look at that real quick and see how that was done, because Jeff McDonald had a pretty good lead, gave him plenty of space in the braking zone here.
Yeah, it looks like Terry just had the superior line going into the hairpin and kind of stuck him on the outside and put him on that less efficient line through the S's going into Genderbien.
Oh, Andrew Neri, as we just pulled to him there, he just had an incident there, and I can hardly keep up with everything here. Lots of replays, but here in Sunset, Andrew Neri, another driver well known for minimal incidents.
Oh, the big bump got him, upset the car, and just totally lost the rear end.
It's exactly what happened to me in the LMP2 in the official 12-hour Sebring, but just like him, lucky to survive without any damage. Oh, and Zach Nurnberger. Some things happened with Zach Nurnberger. Let's see this here. So he had already spun.
Did he get out into the dirt at turn 1, I wonder?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Here we go. I think this is what started the incident here.
Oh yeah, he's all the way out there mowing the grass.
Was a little confident on that rejoin under the tarmac, unfortunately, I think. Yeah, he was just slightly wide when we caught on board with him live the lap before, and that was significantly wide there, unfortunately.
Well, that mistake by Zach Nurnberger puts Keith Roycroft up into 3rd, so...
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of breathing room behind him, though, from Don McCloy.
Well, like I said, you got to keep an eye on Don, because the second you just stop watching him, there he is.
Very consistent driver, and again was 2nd overall in the race at Daytona, but was 1st for the A class. I guess now that Zach Nurnberger's A class, it's sort of second in A class. You go back and you kind of have to retcon the results a little bit, but still doing well in the standings, obviously.
Well, yeah, as of right now, with the win at Daytona overall, he's leading the championship points. So now he's got to play with the big boys.
So Nicholas Paletti has made up the spot on a couple GT3s, trying to make his way back through the field some more, but he still has a lot of the field to go through. He makes his way around there, and you can see on that track he's made it around some of the GT3s who also had some early incidents. Oh, Christopher Craig just had an incident. Driver struggling to keep it on track here. Down into turn 2, turn 3 now. Good avoidance by those guys.
A really good avoidance. Yeah, it looked like he just went in a little bit too much.
Not the first guy to have lost control in the LMP3 there. I mean, you kind of pinged it. We were talking before the race that the LMP3 was going to be difficult, and I was saying it was like hopefully we have less incidents than we did at Daytona, and it's not shaping up to be that way so far. This seems to be a really, really difficult track for these LMP3 drivers.
If I'm reading the overall results correctly, it looks like Nick Terrell has moved all the way up to 13th overall and has only got about 4 GT3s ahead of him.
Yes, Nick Terrell here, from what I'm looking, he just made his way around. That was Tyler Langenberg, I think, or in the. That's Terry in front. So he's only got one. That was Ken Huber. That was Ken Huber's Ferrari. That's it. He's just got one more GT3 4 position to make his way around. Tony Watson ahead. We saw that incident earlier. He is on a different lap.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tony's getting ready to go a lap down as soon as Terry catches him.
Andrew Neri keeping it very close with Steve Cubay here. May be able to make a move here on the inside through Sunset. He is already ahead. Steve Cubay trying to earn back some draft down the main straight, but Neri just so much momentum through Sunset, just no fighting back that was really possible in that situation.
Yeah, he just had the better line that resulted in a better exit. There was just no way.
Another incident here. Brad McCombs. We were on board with him here. This is not the only driver involved, I don't believe. This is again. Oh, yeah, it was.
Well,
yeah.
At least he didn't take any damage. Got it turned around. Not too much.
So I was confused because at the exact same time this happened, John Kelly, and that is Joseph Penn behind, making his way through the GT3 field. Both, and a lockup.
Yeah, that was just, I think that was a matter of not being aware who was around you there.
Yeah, Kelly already having that early incident with Real, and Joseph Penn not putting in a representative lap time, I don't think, in qualifying. So he was having to make his way through that GT3 field, and just an unfortunate incident there. Does look like John Kelly went off track again a little bit after that, but we saw, obviously, Joseph Penn there actually tow. Vernon Markheim out of the race in the GT3 field from this incident here just a minute or so ago in the Bud Ferrari. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he just pulled off track. I wonder what that was about.
But Keith Roycroft also having a good start to this race. But you can see right there as his lap time pulls out. Bad lap there, and that is due to this incident that just happened. Coming through Le Mans curve now. I do think that's probably what Zach Nuremberger maybe was wishing he did a couple laps ago. Unfortunately, Roycroft very, very calm, taking it back onto the pavement there and able to keep his car alive and actually maintain position.
Yep, showed a level head through that for sure.
No LMP3 battles brewing right now, however, at the front of the GT3 field. Tyler Langenberg trying to take third place away from Jeff McDonald here. Not really going to have an opportunity, although he made the pass on lap 2 in this section here, but not quite as far ahead at this point. And actually, that pass he made on Andrew McMurray, McMurray has not fallen away at all. It seems like they were very evenly matched, and Langenberg just able to take advantage of the situation because he's keeping up with him absolutely.
Yeah, those three drivers have been sticking to each other like glue for the last few laps. It'll be interesting to see what Tyler does with it.
Yeah, a couple bad laps there on 4 and 5 for McDonald, but has been pretty much evenly matched with Langenberg for the last couple. Just slightly slower, but not enough for Langenberg to make a move yet. They are in the same car as well, but McMurray back there in that Ferrari. Ferrari easily the second most represented car, as you can see there in the field. We got 5 guys in there, and 2 of them are in the top 5.
Yeah, is anybody even running anything other than a Ferrari or a Porsche? I don't know.
We got 2 BMWs with Roger Shank and Dale Hingley, and 1 Mercedes with Leonardo Elijah, and that's it. Everyone else is a Porsche.
Well, I was told it was a really good car.
Yeah, it looks like it's working well for a lot of different driving styles. But clearly the Ferrari showing that it's not too broken or overpowered or anything. It can definitely be contended with. And Ken Huber's contending at the front there with Terry. So Jeff McDonald had that pole position. Lost the spot to Terry earlier in this race, and then had lost the spot to Ken Huber. But now Ken, after having the fastest time in practice, is trying to take that first place position away. And I'm very interested to see if there's any difference in long-term race pace between these 2 cars.
Yeah, it'll come down to how the tires act when they start to get old or get too hot. Either one of these drivers, I don't think, is going to make a mistake to where they're going to melt their tires down. But, stranger things have happened.
So again, the LMB or the GT3s have about 45 minutes of fuel or so still not close. And here's Ken Huber making the move on the brakes down into the hairpin. Oh, he doesn't quite. Terry Kiger Jr. really closing off that door
Terry
there.
closed the door on him. Yeah, that's for sure. A classic Kiger move.
Wasn't quite close enough to really confidently, place his car in a position that needed that space. But that just goes to show how close this is. One good run, and Ken Huber may be able to actually make that car side by side.
Well, it looks to me like Huber's got a little bit faster pace in the majority of the sectors than Terry, so we'll see how it kind of plays out. If there's one thing that we know about Terry is that he's consistent everywhere at every track, so we'll just have to see if Huber can keep the pressure on him and hopefully force a mistake.
Yeah, Huber did have pole position for the B class in last race, but Unfortunately, had an incident and did not finish as high as he probably could have, just based on the pace they had. That's Tyler Langenberg there, making the move on Jeff McDonald. Has made the move on Jeff McDonald and is on the inside, the preferred line. Let's see if he maintains this. But yeah, he's gonna be well ahead of Jeff McDonald there. I wonder why he had so much more run through Le Mans. Andrew McMurray going to try to take advantage of this as well, though it does not look like that's going to happen. So he's going to have to make his move the old-fashioned way on Jeff McDonald ahead.
Yeah, he's going to have to put in a little more work to catch those two.
You see this pass on Jeff McDonald again, just down the straight, down the Ullman straight into a Sunset, and was already ahead before they even got into the turning point.
He had to have had the better run through the Le Mans sector.
Yeah, that is certainly a part of the track where if you run it defensively, you can really lose a lot of time to the guy behind you. That's Christopher Craig side by side with Daniel Pelotas, made the move. Oh, they really clobbered that curve, though.
And it looks like Nick Terrell wants to come in and play, too. He'll be in there in a hot second.
Yeah, Craig, an early incident. We saw that already, trying to claw back positions. Nick Terrell, no qualifying time, trying to claw back positions. And that's going to have to be another attempt there for Craig, as that curb clobbler, unfortunately, was enough to slow him down that much. But, yeah, he's probably going to get passed by Nick Terrell here first.
Yeah, Nick's definitely got the run. He'll probably make the move going into Sunset.
Yep, has the move, has the pass. Not too much fight from Christopher Craig behind. Understands the situation. They're in different races right now. Andrew McMurray actually did get ahead of Jeff McDonald temporarily. Let's see. Is this a? Chip McDonald's invisible, so I don't know what the
looks like
situation
we
is.
lost him.
I think that may have been just what it was pinged as. Oh, and Dan Plotis, we just saw him on screen, and he's gone, and that's from an incident right here. He's in the 7-Eleven car coming through turn 1. Let's see if he goes out wide like we. Oh, maybe he touched the wall even.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, these P3 cars, they're really sensitive to over inputs. You get one shot at the corner with your steering input, and if you overdo it, that's all she wrote. I think that's what happened to Daniel there.
A little bit of a tense moment there for Roger Shank as he's trying to keep up with Dan Royale in front, and actually the LMP3 of that is Nicholas Paletti, I believe. In between the two, wasn't able to be fast enough into that corner, interestingly. That is Paletti there, who is in 10th, has 20 seconds to Ryan Jeevan ahead, and just trying to stick it out in this race and gain some positions from anybody making mistakes ahead of him, because that early pit stop certainly took him off the strategy. The fuel in the LMP3s should last somewhere around 40 minutes, so with a 90-minute race, you only need to get 10 minutes in before you've kind of covered off that strategy, but that was lap 1 that he had both of his incidents in, unfortunately.
Yeah, you never want to have to pit on lap 1. That's always the worst.
It does not usually turn out well. Andrew Neri there just put in the purple lap of the field there with a 1:54.940. That may be the first time into the 54s even.
I believe it was, and we were talking about it earlier. As the load on the P3s get lighter, we're going to start seeing faster times out of these cars.
Yeah, that's what we saw in Daytona. We saw it just continue to speed up, and the LMP3 drivers we spoke to also did not report any elements of tire wear at all. They were like, couldn't even tell. Taking new tires didn't even really matter that much.
Yeah, I think iRacing still got a little bit of work to do on these cars. They're race ready, don't get me wrong, but they're not fully polished yet like our GT3 class is.
Yeah, a lot of special characteristics in each of these GT3 cars, and that's what's so fun about having that full field of different manufacturers, is just seeing what kind of car suits each driver best. Certainly, Ken is wheeling around this Ferrari quite well in a Porsche-dominated field, is just as fast as anyone else right now.
Yeah, he seems to be doing just fine. He's not letting Terry get too far away. He's just kind of laying back on him, biding his time.
Yeah, nearly had that move into this corner a few laps ago. I don't think has made a move in earnest since that point, but, I mean, with a 90-minute race, it certainly 23 minutes in is not when you have to be making that move regardless.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a 90-minute race. You want to kind of calm down a little bit, see how things are shaking out, watch who's fast where, and, coordinate your attacks. You don't want to just blindly hack away at it.
That was Dan Barnett there making that move for position on Leonardo Elijah to move his way up into 13th there, 13th overall for the GT3 class, and 7th for GT3B. Start for him though. He's up 4. Leonardo Elijah's up 5. Elijah was up a lot of spots in the last race at Daytona as well, so certainly making a habit of gaining positions. Nick Terrell, by virtue, has to have gained positions considering he started last and is up 7 and just put in his purple time for the race with a 1:54.6. So we're not barely into the 54s now, at least for fastest laps. Those guys are solidly into that 54 range already.
Who knows? We might even see 53s tonight, Zach.
Yeah, it could be possible as we get to the very, very end of that fuel tank. And Don McCloy also has a 54.7. He just put in a personal best on that last lap. He is 4.5 seconds back from Paul Boyle, but that's not an insurmountable gap over the course of this race.
No, definitely not insurmountable. It's like I said, it's still early. We're only 24 minutes into an hour and 30-minute race. Things will get interesting when the pit cycle occurs, trust me.
Been a very strong race for Andrew McMurray so far. Only down a position, but that's after qualifying all the way up in 4th place. And certainly is pressuring Jeff McDonald here to try to get back to his starting position of 4th. Not going to be able to make a move into this corner, however.
We should probably take a look at our LMP3B leader, Steve Koubet, who moved up 4 positions, nice and silently, for 6 overall.
Yeah, Koubet's having a good start to this race. Seems like he maybe qualified just a little bit out of position. I think we expected him to gain some spots, and yeah, has gained 4, so done well. Has only 3 seconds to Anjaneri ahead as well. Although we did establish Anjaneri as one of the fastest guys on the track currently, and as I say that, is just 2 tenths away from making a move on Brad McCombs. 1.5 tenths, down to 1 tenth.
Oh, this is going to be good into the hairpin. There he goes.
Heavy on the braking, no sign of a lockup by either driver.
But he got it done. He outbroke him.
Fantastic move by Andrew Neri there. Very confident in the car and made his way about as fast as he possibly could past a very quick driver in Brad McCombs.
Yeah, Andrew Neri did really well in LMP2, and I think this LMP3 car, they're really in sync. He's really clicking with it.
There was just the slightest whiff of a lockup in the rear right. It looked like there. Everything else completely according to plan. And I think the 53s are very much in the cards. McCloy here, just as he had finished his previous lap, put in a 54.58. Another purple lap here. Everyone just continues to increase their pace as we're closing in on the half hour mark.
Yeah, now we're into the point of the race where everybody's kind of calmed down. They got all the first lap jitters out. Now they're really getting their heads down and racing. And I think, yeah, we're going to see a lot faster laps coming soon.
Andrew McMurray, finally, he made the move on Jeff McDonald there. Let's see if there's still a battle going on. He is fully ahead. Looks like the position is safe. Let's check that move on replay. Coming out of the S's.
Yep, just got it done in the braking zone, and that was all he needed.
Yeah, same exact spot. We just saw the pass made by Andrew Neri on Brad McCombs, and another good move there. Very confident in the car. Maybe the Ferrari is the answer. However, despite that, I do say that he has made up that position, but Ken Huber has fallen off Terry Calgary Jr. a little bit. He was around that half-second mark for much of the last 5 or 6 laps. It's now grown to about 1.3 seconds. I don't know if there was a mistake involved in that gap increase there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but still, though, 30 minutes into the race, being behind a second really isn't a big loss. There's still a lot of opportunity ahead.
I think actually that may have been the case there. LMP3 making their way through those 2 drivers. Potentially Huber just disadvantaged a little bit from that. However, he was not disadvantaged there in Sector 6 as he set a purple Sector 6 for that track and a personal best Sector 7. So he has already closed that gap nearly to sub 1 second, and I think it was just a little bit of traffic management. Real here catching up to his teammate here in front, or at least based on the liveries, I would assume teammates, or just very similar thinking drivers of Richard Curry.
Well, didn't Richard Curry have that incident early on, or was it Real?
Real was at least the incident with John Kelly was Daniel Real. I don't know. I don't think Curry had something happen. Chris Newby is also, I believe, on the team. He's a couple positions. Are they all 3? They're all 3 in front in a row. See Chris Newby here, all in this blue and black livery, which is new. I haven't seen that yet, and they're actually all 3 in position in a row each other. Nick Terrell just put in a 154.2. I mean, we're sniffing the 53s at this point now.
Oh, definitely.
But you have to wonder here, maybe Real and Curry just going to do some working together. It makes sense as we've got these three drivers all Brits, I believe, fairly certain. Yeah, all British drivers. So working together, similar time zone, all racing right now at like 4 a.m. or so.
Yeah, and it's a real big advantage to have teammates out on track because you don't have to worry about attacking or defending. You just have to worry about putting in fast laps together, and you can really take out the time of your opponents ahead if you work together.
Yeah, it definitely does not look like Real's trying to make any move happen here. Happy to work together. I'm sure they'll swap positions if they feel that that's the best strategy.
Looked like Real lost a little bit going through the Le Mans corner there. He got a little wide. I don't know what made him do that, but
yeah, it did go quite wide there. Not sure what influence. It didn't look like he lost control, but has caught back up regardless. So you can see that's, I believe, the race. Really, yeah, that's the race leader, Paul Boyle, right behind them on track, trying to make their way around some traffic. I think it's probably a little bit more traffic than I had initially expected. I think just it's a decently long track, and they are separated in pace, the two classes, but not by a lot.
Yeah, I was not expecting the P3 class to be working its way through the GT3 field so early on.
But you can see just on that track map how spread out both classes really are. Paul Boyle is making his way around the first of the two blue Porsches. And the LMP3 really struggles to outbrake the GT3s. It doesn't have the ABS, and it also just doesn't really seem to have the braking performance either.
Well, I think a big part of the P3 braking is that the aerodynamic bubble shifts from front to rear as you kind of get around 80 miles an hour, somewhere around in there. You can go into a corner, your rear wheels are locking up, but then by the time you're getting ready to let off the brake, your fronts have locked up. So it's really a very aerodynamically sensitive car, and that really does affect braking in a great degree. It does take some time to master what the car is going to do to you when you lose that aero load.
Yeah, it offers especially for any drivers that moved from the GT3 to the LMP3, a fully different kind of vehicle to have to drive. There's not a lot of, you have the general ideas of how to drive a track, but once you get comfortable enough with racing, then the nuances between the two cars are quite different. There's not a lot of similarity between sports car and prototype.
No, and the P3 is the gateway to the prototype class. When I've driven it, I found it was real friendly and easy to drive, but all those little quirks make it real hard to master.
Jeff McDonald goes in for an early pit stop there. It's a little bit after the third way mark through the race, so potentially trying to even out those three stints. Could again, based on the fuel, it's 75%. Probably could go for another 12 minutes or so, and I doubt he had any damage because I never saw any incidents pop up. So that seems like a strategy decision to me.
Yeah, I would say so. That's the classic strategy, is run the tank dry as long as you can go.
That is our race leader there, Paul Boyle. Or that is, that's Nicholas Paletti. Teammate Nicholas Paletti, very similar cars. Paul Boyle, the more orange car, and Nicholas Paletti, the more green car. And these are actually still four position. Yeah, these are still four position for Nicholas Paletti. That's how much he was hung out with that early spin, and then the crash, and then the pit stop. He is just now finally past the entire GT3 field. And it just goes to show how difficult it is to. There's no good time to have a crash or have a spin, but it goes to show that lap one is the worst time.
Yeah, you can't help but wonder, did Nick get a little bit of buck fever there on the first lap? Was he just, was he adrenaline pumping? Did he let his nerves get the better of him? Because he's usually not that kind of driver.
Yeah, the first incident, that was pretty marginal, just going a little bit wide, and just frazzled him a little bit because the lockup on the cold brakes. Certainly something that can be done if you don't have 100% focus and kind of think about driving for lap one. So understandable. Paul Boyle and Don McCloy there, both in the pits, and Andrew Nary in the pits. So I think right now is when we're seeing that LMP3 field, so about that 35-minute mark. Seems like it would benefit these guys really to swap the positions. It seems like Real has a little more pace than Curry ahead. Still keep okay. Is he?
I was gonna say he might be getting a little impatient.
Yeah, maybe a little less teamwork than initially it looked, I guess.
Because Real is usually a pretty fast driver. You know, he did have that mistake early on. So I'm sure he's probably trying to claw back every position that he can.
Yeah, is exactly where he started, but like you said, is because he had repaired those positions that he lost from that incident with John Kelly in lap 1 or 2.
Well, that's the other thing about teammates is sometimes they don't want to let you by.
Still not swapping positions, so we'll see if that's going to happen anytime soon. A little bit further back, Leonardo Elijah involved in another battle here with Daniel Hingley right behind him. Daniel Hingley always in that BMW. However, last season that was a popular car. This season, very rarely seen.
Yeah, I think with the Porsche's obvious, improvement, and the Ferrari's always kind of been a steady contender. It looks like the other two German cars have really taken a hit and got nerfed a little bit as far as their performance goes.
I don't think I guess I may be forgetting. I don't think at the very least that the Audi was as a choice for this series with the LMP3, just with any potentially new GT3s being added, that wanted to leave the room open for that. So I don't think the Audi actually, even if it is as good as the Porsche, it was not one that was in the decision. Right now, a lot of drivers who have gained a lot of positions. Leonardo Elijah there as he makes his way through. Of course, Andrew McMurray and Jeff McDonald, as McMurray just goes in the pits there, is currently up nine spots for Elijah. Up seven for all of Daniel Hingley, William Alcala, Roger Shank, Aaron Claybaugh. He's all the way up to 4th place. That's been a quiet climb up the ranks there. We'll see where that is post pit strategy. And then in that GT or in the LMP3 field, now Don McCloy is up 6 up to 2nd, and Nick Terrell obviously starting at the back. He's up 8 spots up 6 to 2nd for Don McCloy, and up 8 for Nick Terrell.
Yeah, I do believe that pit strategy put Nick in the P3 class overall lead.
Currently leading that B class, and of course that's with 2 races now where he did not have a qualifying effort in, so does not count towards the 3 race rule. But I mean, if he's not able to attend any qualifyings, then yeah, that's how it's going to be. But it has some kickball commitments, and is not able to make it into the session until the absolute last second. Right now, for the LMP3 field, Adrian Fedorowski is out of the race. 2 drivers behind him in the pits, however, not out of the session yet. So I don't know if Middleton and Penn are waiting on some repairs to finish. They are a lap further back from Fedorowski, so keep an eye on that. As it stands, 12 of those LMP3s currently driving on the track. Keith Roycroft, incident here. Was doing well, is up in 3rd place with Brad McCombs right behind him.
Yep, just got a little bit too much curb there in the Le Mans sector.
Yeah, pretty
car got away from
shoot. Him. Yeah, didn't. Hit the curb for sure there in Gendebien, but I'm a little surprised at how aggressively it sent him off. I and he just had made that pit stop too. So unfortunately, rather than having it happen right before the pit cycle, that is after, he's into the pits to get that repaired. It is now back in 12th place.
Well, we're almost to the halfway mark, so Keith's got some time to work it back.
Andy McMurray continuing that battle with Jeff McDonald. These two a little bit further back than it seems like they should be, and that's because they've both already made their pit stop. So both guys making an early pit stop, and actually, as I say that, Terry Kiger Jr. at the front comes into the pits while Ken Huber stays out. So that's important to note. If Ken Huber's able to have some fast in-laps here and tries a little bit of an overcut, he may be able to make that pass on Terry, and Tyler coming into the pits as well.
And that's one of the things about laying back in someone's draft is, you can brake earlier, you can save a lot of fuel that way, you can stretch out extra laps, and it can totally change a race.
Yeah, we'll see how many extra laps he's able to go. 45 minutes was kind of the estimate, but that may have been a little bit of a short estimate for this track here at least. But Andrew McMurray and Jeff McDonald both have been fighting for all race for positions, and actually McMurray had gained that spot. He must have lost it in the pit cycle because he had made that move on McDonald that we saw into the braking zone. He's going to try it here in the sunset though, pulling out, has at least a car ahead, or nose ahead. He's already ahead coming in the sunset.
Will he hold on?
Oh yeah, he's well ahead there.
Oh yeah, he made it through.
Oh,
Missed
but that's some momentum for McDonald behind as he had a better exit.
Oh, but he's on the outside going into turn one, and that's not where you want to be.
Let's see, they're giving each other room. McMurray giving everyone plenty of room. McDonald as well, and it looks like he's going to lose out here. I don't think he's going to be able to make a move into the braking zone into the S's.
No, but if he gets a good run here, he could do it in the hairpin.
Yeah, that LMP3 kind of muddles things up for him as it looks like he's trying to size up a move right now. That is the race leader, Paul Boyle. He's going for the pass, though. McDonald on the outside. He's going to have a cleaner braking line. McMurray's going to have a shorter route. He's close enough to earn some space. McDonald doesn't turn in on him too much. Giving room on the outside. Maybe a little bit of a tap, and McDonald is still side by side. Paul Boyle has no idea where to go. It's not room for three cars. McDonald ahead. Paul Boyle finally makes his way through into the grass. And I think McMurray's going to have to sit this one out.
That was some great racing right there.
Wonderful by both drivers, and Paul Boyle just desperately trying to not lose too much time here. I mean, Shirley has lost an inordinate amount of time behind these two drivers here. Don McCloy, you can see that the gap just melting away as it's down now nearly to 4 seconds.
Yeah, but he's still got the gap, and that's important. It's really important to take it easy around the GT3 class. You don't want to make a bad mistake and end your race, especially when you're up front.
Yeah, definitely driving very sensibly for Paul Boyle, just an unfortunate situation. Here's the move where McMurray did get by. I think they even tapped there a little bit. Give him plenty of room by getting into the grass, and then McDonald is ahead and just nowhere for McMurray to get by at this point.
Yeah, he really did get squeezed out there at the end, and I'm sure that hurt a little bit.
Terry Kiger Jr. is behind Ken Huber. The pit strategy worked. The overcut, the in laps for Ken Huber were fast enough to put him just barely ahead of Terry. Let's see if we can catch. I'm interested to see if we can catch him on the pit exit and see how close they were, but I don't see that pass being made.
Did he come out the pits behind him, I wonder?
Yeah, that's one. Oh, and the deep send by Terry. He's barely getting it stopped. I can't believe the car stopped. He's got it stopped, and he's side by side. This is the exact same situation we just saw between McDonald and McMurray. He's slightly behind. Is he going to be just like McMurray and end up behind on this? He is, at least for now, but it's only a tenth between the two.
Well, Terry's going to definitely let him know he's there, and there he goes on the inside.
Given plenty of room, very hard fighting between these two guys. Ken Huber maintains ahead. He's going to cut across, seal off that really needed to. And deep again by Terry under the brakes.
Well, that's a good move.
Oh, and the cars are literally inside of each other.
Paint. That's awesome.
You're coming up to the kink, though. They got to give some another tap. That was a little bit of a netcode tap. Terry on the inside. You don't even see Ken Huber. That's how close they are. Oh, and Ken loses through Gendebien. A half-lap battle there. Terry comes out ahead.
But now he's got the straightaway to draft him. Let's see what he does into Sunset.
Such a weak effect, this draft. He's just barely catching up. It's a long straight, and it's just nothing. Couldn't make anything happen. And that look how that's brought Tyler Langenberg into the battle for second and first place here.
Yeah, I was going to say, all that trading of paint just slowed him down and allowed Langenberg to catch right up to him. We could have ourselves a three-way battle for first here real soon.
I want to see if I can catch. I think this may have been the exit. No, I don't have. Unfortunately, I don't have the pit exit. I couldn't see how close they were. Ken Huber must have come out just barely ahead of Terry into that turn 2. So. And Terry has reclaimed that first place position. This has been a little bit more of a struggle this race for him than Daytona, where he pulled out to a pretty healthy lead early and won by a lot. I think it was like a 20-second win or so.
Yeah, he's definitely having to earn it tonight.
All three of these drivers did qualify well. Up 2 for Tyler Langenberg, qualified 5th, and Ken and Terry qualified 3rd and 2nd, respectively. Jeff McDonald did a little bit of a different fuel strategy and is also had a minor incident earlier in the race. He's currently back in 5th, so not a horrible situation still.
No, not terrible, not especially at the halfway point. There's still lots of racing left, lots of opportunity left.
Yeah, John Kelly keeping it in the race after that early incident with Dan Real. He's actually all the way up to 15th now. Has only 9 seconds to Alcala in front. Definitely has that capability of gaining some more positions in this race. As Dan Real, that just mentioned, is swapping positions with his teammate Richard Curry. Again, just assuming they're teammates here, just based on the livery at least. And it looks like he was not able to get it done. Let's see if we can see what happened here. Comes on the outside into the braking zone. Must get at least a nose ahead here. That's some stout defense by Richard Curry, not giving him any avenues to make that move.
Especially from a teammate, too. Come on.
Their third driver right here just happened at the exact same time as they're battling back here. Okay. I wonder if there was a mechanical, like a wheel failure there.
Yeah, that didn't look like a normal racing incident to me. It just looked like something shut off.
I mean, the wheel's working, sort of.
Maybe he zoned out and blew his braking marker.
I have no explanation for that one, that's for sure.
Well, it looks like we've got Paul Boyall working his way into the 1 and 2 positions of the GT3 class. It could shake things up back there.
Yeah, he's continued to lose a little bit of gap to Don McCloy behind as well. McCloy brought that down to now 3.5 seconds, although, again, and that's way wide by Richard Curry as he rejoins. A little hectic. Real not able to make that stick. You really thought that maybe Curry going wide was going to be the opportunity there. He's just dying to get by. So you can tell through these S's, he's just putting his nose anywhere he can.
Yeah, he's starting to run out of patience. It's obvious.
Then Elijah just made the move on Daniel Barnett. They had been battling back and forth. Let's check. There's so many events. Let's see here. Coming through Sunset side by side. Elijah in the Mercedes on the left, the only driver in the Mercedes in the field. Crazy to say after a couple seasons ago. Stays ahead through turn 1, but I think that Daniel Barnett does fight back in this section here. May just been down the straight. They did fight the previous lap as well, trading positions. And he maintains here.
Nope, just a nice clean pass through turn 1. Got it done.
Barnett still keeping it close, so that was a good move by Elijah, but Barnett keeping it competitive here. Still sub 1 second to Elijah in front. So seeing if he can try to make that happen again. That was Paletti back there, who is now up to 8th place. And we've had a couple, more than a couple, notable LMP3 drivers with some big incidents really taking them out of this race. Keith Roycroft is out, and from that incident we saw earlier, Zach Nurnberger and Nicholas Paletti both 40 seconds back from the driver in front of him. They're in 9th and 8th place after some decent qualifying efforts, especially Nurnberger, very strong start to the race, and Paletti was pole position.
Yeah, there was a lot of disappointment early on, but like I said earlier, you know, the nerves come into play. Guys are making mistakes they really shouldn't be making. Now that everything's kind of leveled out, I think things are looking good. And speaking of looking good, here's Nick Terrell, who has worked his way up to 4th overall after starting at the absolute back of the field. That's super impressive. Top-notch driving by Nick right here.
Yeah, not just 4th overall, but only a grand total of 10 seconds off of Paul Boyle there in first. I mean, it just, if he was able to put in a qualifying time, you know, if he had the ability, even if he qualified last in the LMP3s and just was ahead of the GT3s, he very well could be in first place at this point.
We could see the last to first challenge tonight.
Andrew Neri here. What happens? Coming through Gendebien. Same curb that took out Keith Roycroft, but not going into the wall at least.
Yeah, with the P3, it likes to take a little bit more curb than the P2s did, but not that much.
Quite flat-bottomed vehicles. That's Tyler Langenberg and Ken Huber as he's making his way through some traffic. Nick Terrell here. All over that steering wheel. It's an actively driven car. That is for certain.
I can't help but ask myself, is Nick going to give Terry a bump when he gets close to him for old time's sake?
Yeah, a little bit of bump drafting. It's strange to not see Terry and Nick bump drafting every single race, so I would hope that there's you know, maybe a little bit of help there.
At least give him a push down the straightaway or something, you know.
So we just had a couple incidents. First off, catch Zach Nurnberger off track. Oh, yeah.
It looks like Zach just ran out of talent.
Certainly, though, the very smart decision as opposed to trying to stick it, like when you know you're not making the corner and still trying to stick it out, that's when you crash into the wall and have a catastrophic event. But he knew that he wasn't going to make it, accepted it, and backed out completely.
Yeah, it shows smart driving on Zach's part. You know, he's really come a long way as a driver, not making those silly mistakes like that, like trying to make something stick that just isn't going to stick.
We also have an incident here. This one may not be too surprising. I guess we'll see how this happens. Ray Allen Curry, both cars, and it just, I mean, what else was going to happen?
They definitely had enough of each other.
Yeah, they almost did it. Almost do it again as they rejoin. A couple cars make their way by. Some minor damage to both cars. I mean, that's it. Just I couldn't have seen it really ending up any other way. Willem Alcala here in Sunset. Just had that slip angle through the entire corner there, really. Just was just slightly losing control through that entire turn.
Yep, it was one of those lazy slides, and he just couldn't catch it at the end there.
Luckily, looks right like there at the entrance.
Yeah.
And we also saw this from Andrew Neri here as he's making his way past Andrew McMurray. Oh, man, that was aggressive. That really hooked the bottom of that car. And he's going to rejoin with no damage at least, but yeah, a couple incidents early for Andrew Neri. Had one at the start of the race, and had a couple since then as well. So, and that was one of the two. That was Dan Real there.
Yeah, maybe just couldn't continue with the damage or something. Oh no, just lost it.
Oh,
the tire barrier caught him. That hurt. That really hurt.
Yeah, it's unfortunately going to be a nullified race there for Real. I don't know if Curry needed to come in. Yeah, Curry's in the pits at least, so Curry repairing some damage shouldn't be off strategy, I don't think. But Ken Huber has fallen back from Terry at the front of the GT3 field, but Langenberg has kept it close behind. Huber's mostly been doing attacking in this race, but having to worry about the fence right now.
And you got to watch out for Tyler Langenberg. He does like to take it easy in the first half and then turn it on in the second half of the race. Like, he'll just come out of nowhere and start passing everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't get to see him last season, so we had a season off as he had some real life obligations. And interesting to have him come back here in the GT3 class. And he won the LMP2 class in the first season, and then took a season off back here in the GT3 to take it to some of these guys up here at the front. A lot of familiar names, and is doing well in this race, up in third place right now, trying to get to that second place spot.
Yeah, he's definitely starting to put the pressure on now. Going through the S's there, he's closing the gap as quick as he can.
He finished the last race in, I believe, 7th at Daytona, but he had a lot of safety points and moves him up to 5th place overall in the standings.
Yeah, he's definitely by no means out of the championship.
Well, one unfortunate result so far from today, that given that he's still in the pits, I think is probably what it's going to be. Our current leader for GT3B was Christopher Newby, after a really good score in Daytona with a total of 43 points, is effectively out of this race. He's still in the pits. I'm not sure if he's planning on rejoining. However, the guy who wasn't second, he was tied with, was Alexander Pelican, who's not in this race. So then it drops down to Roger Schenk, who was just 1 point behind them, and he is having a very good race here today. He should be coming ahead. If he finishes where he's at right now in 8th place and second for the GT3Bs, he'll be first in that GT3B category after tonight.
Yeah, no, Roger's putting on a classic thinking driver's race. He's staying out of trouble. He's taking spots when he can get them. He's keeping it clean. He's having a great race tonight.
Yeah, up 7 spots. Has a large gap, of course, there to Kevin Berquist in front. Kevin Berquist also doing well. Qualified really well last race at Daytona, Berquist did, and ended up finishing in 8th place for the overall points. Had I think an unfortunate late incident, if I remember correctly, but here qualifying in 10th, but all the way up to 7th already, and has some spots to potentially gain as he's just a second back from Aaron Clayball. Things go bad to worse, as it looks like potentially another incident for engineering. I see he's out of the session, so this is going to be the final incident for him, and I think he already gave up. That's a little irresponsible to be doing in front of some other racing drivers there, though.
Yeah, that wasn't very professional.
Came from this incident that happened a little bit before that. So let's see what happened. This was technically on the previous lap.
Not a race ender, just, a little bit of over braking, a little bit of over throttle application.
Yeah, just struggles to get back. Oh, and that was right as we come back there, Burke was nearly colliding with, I believe that's Zach Nurnberger there in the LMP3. Don't think he quite saw Zach on the inside there of that corner.
Yeah, but looks like he gave up. Yeah, looks like he gave up and let Zach through. It's probably a smart move.
We don't have any battles right now, sub 1 second in either of the classes, and we're about to hit that 1 hour mark with 30 minutes to go. So I think right now is probably a good time to take a few minute break. So we'll be right back with you and in just a couple minutes and get right back to the action. All right, and we are back. Keeping track of the action here. Kevin Berquist closing up to Aaron Claybaugh ever so slightly, has brought it down to 6 or 7 tenths now. And they're not in the same class. It actually is a little bit surprising that Claybaugh hasn't qualified into A yet, because he certainly has that race pace. But in both races so far, just hasn't had the qualifying effort that put him into that top 35%.
Well, last season he was a big BMW driver. Who knows if he's maybe not fully clicking with the Porsche just yet.
Yeah, at least, I mean, there's no questioning that qualifying pace and race pace are two entirely separate entities and skills, and you can absolutely have a driver that's good at one much more than the other. Certainly in a 90-minute race, the race pace is more effective than qualifying pace, but it makes you wonder if he's battling with Kevin Berquist here. If he had maybe had a better qualifying effort, he could be up a couple positions potentially. Berquist not able to make the move there, but it just seems kind of like it's inevitable at this point as he's hounding Claybaugh all over the back. And you never know if Claybaugh is also doing some fuel saving at the same time. He and Nick Paletti both like to do some pretty wild fuel strategies.
Yep, they do have their fuel management down. That's a fact. Pelotas is just straight up outpacing him. It's only a matter of time, especially if they are on a fuel saving strategy.
Especially in Paletti's case with that early incident. I mean, you got to try something dramatic, which if anybody watching, if you also watch the Open Wheel for Amateur series on the other weeks, we do every other week here for endurance and Open Wheel. We saw last week at Red Bull Ring in Open Wheel that Nick Paletti had a catastrophic incident at the start of the second race, went for a bonkers fuel strategy where he didn't pit, even though mathematically everyone should have absolutely had to. He stayed out. He didn't pit, and he ended up winning the race after getting a close second, losing the first place in the first race, literally in the final corner, due to some fuel strategy as well. So it has become a trademark for him so far in both of these series. Berquist keeping it very close, but has not tried to make a send yet. Has been a very sensible driver. I mean, he's really improved, especially since the start of last season. I believe last season was his first season with the league, and just the improvement from that very first race to midway through the season was quite large. But really came out of the gates running in this. I mean, he was in B class last season and contended with Christopher Craig for that championship. First race already had qualified in A class here. We have a lot of drivers out here. Nick Terrell is a 154.098. We're there. We're almost there in the 53s. But Berquist certainly an example of a driver who has really made some great improvements. Oh, Paul Boyle.
Oh, no. What happened? Oh no. Just took a little bit too much.
And Don McCloy right there as he goes through. Don McCloy has inherited that lead, and then there is a...
That's Brad McComb.
Yeah.
No, that's McCloy that just went by. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Speaking
of, the other car was a lapped car. You're right.
Speaking of McCombs, he's been running a really quiet, good race. He's back up into third after his early incidents. He's really having a good night tonight.
Yeah, he's only 2 seconds off of Paul Boyle, and Paul Boyle is. And actually, Brad's last lap was also a personal best, 154.2. Interesting just to kind of see when it is that these LMP3s really start to hit their stride, because it took a while after that last pit stop before now they're starting to topple those fastest laps yet again.
Yeah, it takes at least 2 to 3 laps to get the tires up to operating temperature, it seems like. And then, Brad's got both positions 1 and 2 in his sights, and then Nick Terrell's back there lurking too, popping around the corner. Yeah,
Terrell with the purple lap right now. With just slightly under 154.1. Again, Terrell pit on lap 19. Brad McCombs pit on lap 15. We're 20 laps later, and now is when they're really hitting their stride. It's just an interesting feature of these cars as opposed to kind of what you normally see. Brad McCombs coming in, so that was some strong in-laps for him. Nick Terrell doing the same. And with 25 minutes to go, obviously in that this is going to be their final stop, and they're in that pit window.
This could be the move for the win right here because they should not have to pit again.
Yeah, that'll be it for them. And it just depends on how their pace does compared to these two guys. I don't know how long these guys are going to stay out. Both McCloy and Boyle pit on lap 18. So Terrell actually going a lap longer than both of these guys on the previous stint, but going in earlier here at the end.
Yeah, Boyle is going to have to nurse the car for a lap or two, get him cooled down after that big lockup and slide, but he's definitely got the pace to catch back up and potentially even get around.
Yeah, I'll be honest, we have not seen a lot of actually on-track passes with the LMP3s. I do think part of that is just the bevy of mistakes that have been made, so positions being gained through way of just some mistakes. Potentially may have just had another one back here in the GT3 field. John Kelly with Andrew McMurray right behind coming into Sunset. Oh, that is...
Yeah, that was just a bad move.
Yeah, that's strange. Very confusing why McMurray was just so much faster there. Not quite sure what happened. I don't know if Kelly maybe had damage and it just was... Actually, that was wide there by McCloy. Keeps it staying on track, but he's got some... He's losing some pace, and I don't know if Bo's not going to be able to make it coming down in the Sunset here. He's sending it. He thought about it. Just so close. Couldn't quite make it work.
Yeah, he just needs to get the good exit out of Sunset
He's
here.
pitting anyway. Well, taking the sails out of that battle there for a little bit, but McCloy lucky to kind of be able to breathe easy now as he doesn't have Paul Boyle, breathing down his neck. He had a purple sector 4 on that lap and just was a little bit wide in that corner right after Le Mans.
Well, he's got to be getting close to the end of his pit cycle here, so I'm sure we'll see him enter here in the next lap or two, maybe 3. So it could be a time to build up some gap between him and Boyle and hopefully keep it coming out of the pits.
Yeah, he went 18 laps in the first stint, so if that was taking it to the end, then this has to be the lap that he comes in. Unless really, I don't think we saw anybody go beyond 19 on the LMP3s. So in for the GT3 class, Tyler Langenberg in 3rd place. Was pretty close to Ken Huber, but he's pitting before he's going to try an overcut. We saw Huber successfully complete the overcut on Terry earlier in this race, and Langenberg trying to do that for 2nd place now.
Yep, it'll be a real interesting thing to see how Terry responds to Huber and Langenberg's pit strategy here.
Don McCloy coming around the last couple corners here through Genevieve, now through Le Mans. Interested to see. We'll probably see him come in for the pit stop here. I would imagine they don't take any tires, although it doesn't seem like the tires really are all that important with the pretty low tire wear.
No, the tires on these cars don't seem to be fully developed just yet, so I think these guys are going to use that to their advantage and save time wherever they can.
McCloy nearly losing it as he takes obviously a slightly different line to get into the pit, and I nearly lost control on the pit entry from the lead. So we will follow him through his pit stop here and get an idea of where he's going to come out. And for the pits, it is raising, so he's getting at least one tire changed here on this pit stop. I don't know if that's an accident, if that's a mistake or not, but that's at least one tire being changed.
Well, if he could take all 4 for free with the fuel load that he has to take, might as well take them.
That's Boyle right there, though, already.
They don't do you any good sitting on the truck.
And that's, yeah, okay, so he's going for a totally, he cedes the lead to take some tires, and we'll see if that makes the difference at the end, because he has certainly given up that first place position and a good amount of time. So you have to wonder if that was a deliberate strategy call or potentially accidentally leaving the tires checked on. It happens all the time. It would not be a shocking thing. We have an incident further back in the GT3 field. Dale Hingley here. I believe this is Cunningham Corner. It's hard to tell from it hits the wall. Struggling to get it turned around.
Yeah, he's kind of got the Austin Powers scenario there in the middle of the track, doesn't he?
Luckily, no cars coming. He's got plenty of free space. So I thought maybe that involved, because at the exact same time, we had this from Christopher Craig in the LMP3. Down into the hard braking zone. Lock up on the brakes there.
Yep, just too much.
And then slightly after that, another incident, unfortunately for Hingley. Hingley, maybe a little bit of damage from hitting that wall earlier.
Tires are probably nuclear hot.
Yeah, just calling it quits, unfortunately.
Well, it looks like Brad got around Don on that pit stop of his.
Yeah, Don is there in third place, and we'll see if the tire. I imagine Paul Boyle and Brad McCombs didn't take tires. I imagine that's where we're seeing that difference, and if we see that come to fruition for Don here in that strategy call.
Well, it's going to take a little bit to get him rubbed in right, and if he can get the pace, he could definitely catch Brad and Paul. He's shown he's got the speed.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how the fuel load is a pretty big indicator for the pace, and so that may be why they were going the fastest, 20 laps in or so. However, that being said, it still does seem, wow, Terry Kiger Jr. there, and then a purple lap here, an hour and 13 into the race as a 1:59.6. He is starting to really pull away from Ken Huber behind, I think.
Yep, this is where the endurance comes into endurance racing, is this last little leg of the race when everybody's tired. You've been racing hard. It really shows who's got the fitness, the endurance to do these long races.
Yeah, our top three for the GT3 field at Daytona was Terry Kiger Jr. He was in first. He's looking to repeat that win. Jeff McDonald was second in our race, and he is there in seventh right now, though I think he may have already made his last pit stop like Tyler Langenberg has. And then lastly, Adrian Vahil, who is not in this race, actually. So we're missing a top three guy here. And John Kelly is finished fourth also, and obviously he has had a number of incidents, unfortunately, in this race. He is 13th, so he's not last, but he's, I think, last of the guys currently running. We have all the way up to 15th out of this race, and I'm not sure. I think Tim Thompson is in the session. Yeah, he is here in this black Porsche. At the front, you can see here McCloy through at least this lap here has been slower than McCombs, so still working those tires in. And then at the between the front two, it's been almost entirely evenly matched, with the exception of one sector where Boyle was a little bit slower, but it's about a 2-second gap now between the two.
Yeah, and both Paul and Brad are those kind of drivers where they'll just sit there and they'll turn out the laps. They won't really go for any kind of fast laps. They won't do anything risky. They know that they've come this far, that it's more important at this point to finish the race than to try to do anything stupid that could jeopardize a good finish. Hopefully
no issues there with we just saw Brad McCombs flash off the screen. Hopefully no connection issues. Has not been a stranger to Brad in the past. Is some internet connectivity issues, so hopefully nothing happens there. We had our pole position in Ofre last week disconnected due to packet loss, so hoping that nothing happens there. As Nicholas Paletti is battling with Steve Cubay, made his way ahead, lost a spot, trying to get it back now. He is if he makes this spot stick, he's going to have moved his way up to fifth, despite about as bad of a start as you could possibly have, to be frank.
Yeah, he's working on it, but I don't think Steve's going to give up the position easy. He's going to have to earn it.
We'll see. It may even happen into this braking zone. It looks like he's just really got some run on him. He's going to be able to take the outside, the better braking line. Deeper on the brakes by Cube, though. Oh, Cube goes wide. He's going to have to let Paletti go by.
Maybe not. Doesn't look like he's giving up. Oh, yep. He's definitely got it done.
Yeah, he's just trying to lose as little time as possible. But he's fighting back. He's pulling back. A little bit of... and actually at the front, too, Brad McCombs has now dropped that down to 7/10. Boyle's had a bad couple sectors here. 3/10 slower in Sector 2 and 3. Half a second slower in Sector 6. And these are not long sectors. Brad McCombs is smelling blood in the water right now, I think.
Yep, if he can move into striking distance, he can wait for the perfect opportunity. He's got, about 10 minutes or so, 13 minutes left in the race. It's the prime time.
Yeah, it's the perfect amount of time for Brad's situation. It's not so much that he needs to be pressuring for too long than for him to be able to handle, but it's enough that he doesn't need to. There's nothing incredibly urgent. He doesn't need to make the move right now. He can definitely plan and try to set something up here.
Yeah, and that was real nice of that lap traffic right there to let those guys go through as the race leaders. That first-class driving right there.
That was Dale Plotis there, currently running in 10th and up 2 from where he qualified in 12th. This is the closest battle in the LMP3 field right now, and it is for the win. Down sub half second into that corner. That finally Boyle actually faster in Sector 4. It's the first of the last maybe like 10 or 12 sectors where he actually had an advantage on Brad behind, although you can tell already Brad clawed that back.
Right. Brad's real tactical. He'll sit and wait. He will wait for Boyle to make a mistake. He'll put the pressure on him if he can.
Kevin Berquist comes into the pit lane. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of these GT3 guys making that final splash and dash. And here's where we'll see if Jeff McDonald's call for that early pit stop is going to pay off for him or not. It looks like he's at least going to be ahead of Berquist. Yes, he takes that position from Berquist there in 6th. And actually, we're coming up to Berquist. You should be able to see him right on the screen. You can hear him right on the right side. And that is him coming out of the pits there. So no incidents. Comes out in 7th place and with a couple guys in front of him still to pit. Bad time for this traffic, though, for these guys. This may be the opportunity for Brad as Paul catches bad traffic, not for the first time this race.
It looks like the GT3 just, he got out of the way. Another case of first-class driving right there.
Look how close they are as they come out of the exit there, but unfortunately not close enough to make that move.
Yep, the heat's on now.
Paul Boyle certainly a composed driver, not one that is going to easily fall to any sort of intimidation tactics from any driver. So this is a battle I'm excited to see for this last 10 minutes, and we just really hope that we get some good, clean racing here. Look at those bumps. And not really a purpose-built racetrack. This is a former Air Force base for some B-36 bombers, I believe. And it is certainly built like an airstrip, not a racetrack. And that's why you see these cars bouncing all over the place and nearly shaking themselves apart.
And that's one of the things I love about Sebring personally is you have the mixture of the track surfaces. It really makes braking tricky. And I think it's just great that the stewards of Sebring Raceway have not changed that concrete since World War II.
Look at that. The massively different lines that they took through Sunset there. Something we haven't touched on yet, but that corner, there's a lot of different ways you can take it. They both took it successfully through there, pretty much the same time between both of them, only 400ths difference between them. It does look like Boyle has responded, though, as you can see there, in all of those last 6, now 7 sectors, he has been marginally faster than Brad behind.
Yep, he managed to gain almost 2/10, but hey, that's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, with how close they were, he couldn't really afford to lose any time at all. They were about 2/10 apart from each other, so but he does look like he is responding to that attack from Brad. Still 8.5 minutes to go. Then is Jeff McDonald there. Terry Cowger into the pit lane. Ken Huber again going longer, but further back this time than he was in the last pit cycle. I'm not sure if that overcut is going to be able to get him that first place again. Well, let's see where that puts Tyler Langenberg, because that was one of the interesting situations.
I thought we lost Brad for a minute.
Yeah, it's been a little sketch for his connection.
He's gonna make it. He's gonna make it.
Yeah. 2/10 between these two drivers right now. Looks like Terry has rejoined the surface, and he is going to be in second place. Did something happen? Maybe Tyler Langenberg took tires, because he's 19 seconds back from Terry, and I'm confused on how that happened. Nicholas Paletti may have just had he just lost the spot to Cube, gained it back, lost it, trying to gain it back again here. With Roger Shank there, who's in 9th place ahead of them. Yeah, there was an off track. Nicholas Paletti was off track for 10 seconds. Let's see if look at this vent here real quick. Right behind Real, I think. Real, Newby, Curry. Real's out of this race. It may be Curry, I think. And
yeah, it looked like he just got squeezed off the surface there.
Certainly appeared to be that way. I don't think that he, whichever GT3 was, I don't think he knew that he was coming on his outside there.
Yeah, it was definitely not intentional. I think it was a case of not knowing he was there.
Staying close between these two. McCombs still has made a move. Has been close to, close enough to touch him, but has not tried to make a move on him yet. And Nick Terrell is catching up to Don McCloy there for that 3rd place position as well. Last spot on the podium. For the most part, pretty big gaps there in the GT3 field. We do have Abhi Vishwasham, just brought it less than a second to Daniel Barnett in front. Barnett has had a couple battles that he's dealt with in this race, but it looks like Vishwasham is catching up. Paletti coming into the pit lane. So
has Claybaugh taken his last pit stop yet? He's worked his way up to 3rd.
I don't think that he has, but he's still. It's still. I mean, I don't think he's going to lose too many positions, because there's some other guys like right McMurray hasn't. I don't believe either. There's another spot. Langenberg back to his original 3rd position.
Oh, looks like Brad got around Paul.
Whoa. Indeed, Paul's way back. Paul went off track. Oh, Paul made a mistake in the waning hours of this race. Let's see here. May hit that curb. Oh, just losing the control.
Yep, the classic Le Mans exit loss. Such a shame.
See from his perspective here. I think by the time that he was even able to react, it was already stepping out on him. If Brad McCombs can just keep it calm, he's only got 5 minutes to maintain this 5-second lead. He's making his way through some traffic right now. This would be a really good win for Brad. Had the best time in practice, but honestly, his 3rd place in qualifying seemed to be a little bit, you thought he might be in contention there for pole. I think he was 4 or 5 tenths off that pole position time, and then had the early incident. But to fight back to potentially get this win here would be a great triumph for him.
Indeed. I mean, after his performance at Daytona, where he battled up back up to 3rd or 4th, was it? After, a really bad start, he had a really good last half of the race, and we're seeing it again here. Brad's, had a rough start early on. Now he's turned it on, and he could take this home as long as he keeps everything smooth and clean.
Yeah. Brad McCombs earned driver of the day from the last race at Daytona, and had that early incident into turn 1 that involved him, Nicholas Paletti, and one other driver, and was putting in just unbelievably fast laps at the end of that race. It just you have to wonder what it would have been if he hadn't had that early incident. Nick Terrell is certainly pressuring McCloy to try to get into this 3rd place spot. Has just a few more laps to do it, but may even have a chance into sunset here if there's enough of a draft.
Yep, let's see if he can get the run.
Don't think it's going to happen here. He may shade out just to get some free air, but not trying to make a move there quite yet. Really nailing those bumps through Sunset. Any of those bumps can take you out. There's a couple bumps there that are absolutely lethal and hard to remember exactly where they are, and we've had a couple guys hit them already.
Yep, we've seen our share of accidents hitting that big bump in the middle, in between the two apexes of Sunset there. It's definitely deadly.
Terrell had it down to about 2 or 3 tenths, grown to 6 tenths or so, but absolutely keeping in touch here with McCloy. Not close enough, I don't think, to make out. This has been probably the favorite passing opportunity on the track that we've seen today, but really between both classes. Coming down here into the hairpin turn after Gurney Bend, but not close enough to do anything here.
And regardless if Nick can get it done on Don or not, Nick has had an outstanding race starting from the back of the field, working his way all the way up to 4th overall. Hats off. Hell of a drive.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful performance for him. One of the most difficult possible situations, starting not just behind your own class, starting behind everybody. And I don't even think that we've seen him collide with anyone. So not only did he get through that GT3 field and all of these LMP3s as well quickly, he did it quite clean as well. McCombs is now coming down the Ullman Straight, and with 128, that should mean that he's going to get the white flag as he crosses. So this is, some traffic might be helping Dick Terrell here. He's on the inside into Le Mans. Wide for McCloy. He's going to lose the spot. He's going to lose the spot. He's only going to have one lap to try to get it back. And McCombs coming across. This should be the white flag here as he's putting in actually purple sectors out there. Wonderful show so far. He's got a 6-second gap behind, and he just needs to bring it home. We did not get anybody into the 153s unless that's what he's trying to do here in this final lap. 154.098, fastest lap that we've got, I believe, owned by Nick Terrell. Combs trying to make his way through the traffic. Tyler Langenberg's strategy not paying out to gain him any positions. Wait, Ken Huber has not... I don't think he came in for that other pit, did he?
I was going to say, he's been out in front of Terry for the last 5-10 minutes. I don't know if he's taken his pit.
Wait, I'm seeing that he pit on lap 43. How is he 16 seconds ahead of Terry?
I have no idea.
I have to. I didn't see any incident from Terry, and I don't know if there was something we didn't catch. But yeah, Ken Huber is in first by 17 seconds, having made his 2 pit stops, with his second one being just 3 laps ago. Yeah, you can see it there. You can, what's that? That's not showing, is it?
Well, it looks like, did Calgar have to make a 3rd stop?
We'll have to. Well, this is something we'll have to investigate afterwards. I didn't see any incidents, anything strange. But McCombs is rounding the final corner here as he's going to come to a wonderful victory here. Did not look like it was in the cards after the first couple laps, but brought it back with absolutely lightning pace and a mistake-free last part of this race. Wonderful win for Brad McCombs. And Paul Boyle does bring it home in second place. Another great finish for him. Nick Terrell all the way up 11 spots to finish third, with Don McCloy, also a great race for him as well, up into 4th place as he just crosses the line.
Yeah, that was an amazing race. I would have never called that finishing the way it did.
Yeah, a lot of different guys coming into this race that you thought had some chances, and Brad McCombs certainly was one, but it seemed like after the early events of the race, like he was going to be out of it, but came back into it just with again, just like he was at Daytona, one of the fastest guys on track, but actually even able to turn that into a win today. So that'll be a strong continuation to his season here as he takes that forward and potentially is able to continue that success in our next race in a couple weeks from now. Steve Cubay coming across in 5th. A lot of the GT3s have finished actually a different lap for most of those. Tyler Langenberg did finish in 3rd. Ken Huber coming around Le Mans, no stress behind it at 14 seconds. I really don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but Terry's got to be a little heated. I mean, he was in front the whole race, and now he's not. He's 14 seconds back. I don't know.
I found it. I think I found it. Let's follow Ken Huber to the line here with that win. Wonderful win. Had plenty of drama, plenty of difficulty, but in that Ferrari and a Porsche-owned class here has brought home the win. Wonderful race for Ken Huber and Terry Calgary Jr. coming in second as he crossed the line. Great race for him. Podium yet again, but not to unfortunately solve that. I did find the incident here. This was lap 41 for Terry. Cunningham corner.
Oh, he took the wall a little bit. That had to hurt.
Yep, and luckily not turned around too backwards, but you can see right there a lot of drivers. Now, most of those not for position. But I think he may just have lost some of that pace with that damage that he had.
Well, Sebring never fails. Action-packed race all the way throughout. We couldn't even keep track with everything that was going on.
No, I did my best, but just stuff happening all the way up and down through the field. As you can see, a good amount of retirements. 10th back in the LMP3s retired. 15th back in the GT3s retired. But really great races for both of our winners. Really both came from behind as well to come away with that victory. So if we have people getting ready in the waiting room, I'd like to hear from some of these winners that we got.
Well, let's bring on in our overall race winner, Brad McCombs. Brad, this is Skip in the booth. You got us?
Yes, how you doing?
Doing well. That was one hell of a race, my friend. Hats off on the win. You want to tell us about that last 10 minutes when you were behind Paul Boyal?
I don't know, man. I was just pushing as hard as I could. I was surprised I was catching him, honestly, because he had really good pace at the beginning of the race. And I had my my brake bias. I forgot to pull it forward a little bit, so I had that little spin out in the beginning. But yeah, it was fun. I was looking forward to the last lap, race to the finish with him.
Yep, you did get off to a rocky start, but you cleaned it up good and you brought it home for the win. How do you feel about next week at Long Beach?
Not my favorite.
Is it the walls?
Not my favorite. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. This car likes to spin out in the rear too, and there's a lot of those, I guess the hills that you go up over and you lose downforce.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about there. I already know where we're going to see some incidents, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a really lightning pace again from you today in this race. Whereas, the fastest guy on track at Daytona a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately had that early incident that kind of took you out of the competition for the lead. But we're able to contend for the win here. So, I mean, Long Beach may not be your favorite track, but it certainly seems like you're gelling really well with the car as far as pace goes.
Yeah, the car fits me well. My driving style, yes. And I will get some practice in at Long Beach. Hopefully I'll have a good pace.
Well, it was a fantastic race by you there, Brad, and congratulations on the win. It's been a little bit since we've heard from you in the booth, but Sebring's a perfect place to get that victory. So congratulations, and we hope you keep that momentum heading forward to our next race in Long Beach in a couple weeks.
Thank you. See you then.
Have a good night, Brad.
Later.
Well, should we bring in our GT3B class winner next? We don't seem to have Mr. Huber with us.
Yeah, let's hear from Aaron Claybaugh.
Aaron, you got us in the booth?
I got you, Paul.
So that was a stunning race on your part. You worked your way up to what, like 8th overall in class?
Yeah, I got to 6th. Just don't really have a knack for this track when it comes to qualifying. In fact, I want to give a shout out to Terry. He was really helpful this week. Gave me one of his laps to just kind of study, which was a big help. But about halfway through the race, through the first stint, my car started coming alive, and I was actually starting to cut some gaps down in front of me, and realized with the fuel burn off and whatnot, I should have been adjusting my brake bias a little bit sooner. So that second stint kind of came together a little bit better. I was able to modulate the brake bias and get some more pace out of the car towards the end.
Well, that's the second race now where you've just had top tier race pace, and as a result of a couple times qualifying just outside of the A B class split, you're still there in the B class. What do you think your chances are of making it into the A class in that last opportunity you have next race at Long Beach in a couple weeks?
Oh, it's Long Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. I mean, anything's possible. Again, when we were at Long Beach a couple seasons ago, I had good race pace, but not good quality pace. So as much as it feels good to win B class tonight, I wish it was, fifth place in A. I'd just rather, be in the more competitive field. So I'm going to do my darndest to try to qualify for A next race, and hopefully put a whole race together, and not just race, but quality as well.
So, real quick question, Aaron. Last season, you were a BMW guy. We all know the Porsche is the it car. How are you getting along with it?
Yeah, so I was probably, it was the season I won my GT3 championship, which was, I think, the first season last year. And I did almost that entire season with either the Porsche or Ferrari, and I loved the Porsche. And then over time, the Porsche just continued to kind of go downhill. I mean, we saw a lot of incidents, I think, last season and the season before where, just normal turns, the cars were looping. This new version of the Porsche, the 992, is fantastic. It reminds me just like the old one. I know Terry was telling me he has similar perspective to that, and I'm loving this car again. It's really nice on the brakes. You can be I'm a really aggressive braker and can really throw the car into the corners. And while it does, eat up the tires, the car's not spinning around on you. And the BMW is a great stable option, but it doesn't have that point in the corners like the Porsche does right now.
Well, it was a fantastic win for you there in that B class. Can gain 10 spots overall. So congratulations on that performance there, and good luck next week. Next week. Good luck in the broadcast booth for Monza, but good luck week after next there in the Long Beach race for Ifre.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. I want to give a shout out to Paul. Heartbreak for him here tonight. I know that he really wanted to pull it off, but congrats to Brad on getting that done. And yeah, who knows what will be happening. My wife's due any day now, so hoping I could be out there for the next race, but who knows? We'll see.
Well, you have a good one, Aaron. Congratulations. Look forward to hearing from you again. And we'll hear from you next week, ideally, for Over
All right. Thanks, guys. Can't wait to watch the broadcast. Looking forward to it.
All right. Good night, Aaron. All right.
Well, looks like Mr. Ken Huber, our GT3 winner, is up in E4A Racing chat. We should probably grab onto him.
Yeah, we'll steal him from there.
Ken, this is Skip in the booth. You got a copy?
Oh, hey, how's it going, guys? Skip?
Not too bad. Congratulations on the win. Luck prevailed tonight. You want to tell us a little bit how you felt when you saw Terry drop off from behind you?
Yeah, there was a little bit of luck there. Unfortunate mistake by Terry. I was just talking to him, and apparently he had a spin, but I don't call it all luck. I was keeping it pretty close, and there at the end, I was running some pretty hot laps, so it was just interesting. I had to take less fuel than he did because he went in a lap earlier, so it was going to be interesting where everything was going to shake out. But tough break for him, but I'll take the win any way I can get it, I guess.
Yeah, and you
I was gonna say, speaking of
definitely
that,
showed.
that lap one, you pit one lap later. During that segment there, you had that one lap overcut, ended up coming out battling side by side with Terry. You guys fought through basically the entire lap coming out of that first pit cycle, and just wanted to, what was your experience with that inside the cockpit?
Yeah, that was nerve wracking. I got to tell you, I so desperately wanted to hold on to the position. I knew I was on colder tires. He had one lap heat in his tires, so I was driving the wheels off that thing just see if I can keep it in front of him, but couldn't quite make it happen. So, and then of course we got into traffic and I started losing time. But yeah, that was exciting, and we were just talking about that, saying, hey, let's try not to rub in the future that much.
So you definitely showed tonight that the Ferrari does have the pace to run with the Porsches and beat the Porsches. How do you feel about that going into Long Beach?
Oh, Long Beach, not good. Long Beach is one of those tracks that passing is impossible, and the Ferrari is one of those cars that likes to stretch its legs, and there's nowhere to stretch the legs there. So, yeah, I'm just gonna have to deal with it and do the best I can with it. But that's kind of the nature of the beast. Depends on the track, and I think that's what I'm going to be dealing with next week or 2 weeks from now, I guess.
Well, so congratulations on that win. You had the pole position last week, but didn't get the win, but you got the win here today. So congratulations on that performance, and we look forward to another strong showing from you in Long Beach.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, you have a good night, Ken.
Thank you. You too.
And it looks like we don't have our GT3, or who are we missing as far as
We're missing Mr. Nick Terrell.
Nick Terrell, up 31 spots overall in the race. We don't have him to hear from. He was our LMP3B winner, but he is not here in the booth, so we will not be able to hear from him today. Maybe we'll have another win from him next race and get some thoughts from him. So, yeah, from that race, pretty much impossible to kind of follow everything and cover everything. But what a wonderful race with a lot of great battling and a great couple stories for those class winners.
Indeed it was. Indeed it was.
So come back here next week at the same time, same starting time for O4A. It'll be round 3 for the F3 cars at Monza. Or if you're here for just the E4A, that'll be the week after next. And that'll be, as we've said, at Long Beach Street Circuit. Probably the toughest challenge for the drivers on this entire calendar. So we look forward to seeing you again. And everyone, have a good night.